Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras here with ILTV's Morning Brief.
Roads and schools are closed and trains have been stopped all across southern Israel following a full night of rockets launched at the hands of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad terror group in the Gaza Strip. And the IDF is now opening all of its shelters in the southern region ahead of yet another predicted round of violence. At least 30 rockets and mortars have been sent over aimed at civilian Israeli communities, half of which were intercepted by the Iron Dome defenses, while the rest fell into open areas. Israel, on the other hand, is retaliating with force, attacking Islamic Jihad targets across the Strip and in Syria, and 6 terror combatants are reported dead with several more injured, though the Islamic Jihad terror group has only confirmed 2 killed. Still, the IDF is also confirming the destruction of a Palestinian Islamic Jihad headquarters in Syria, allegedly used to develop and manufacture weapons, as well as military bases and weapons storehouses across Gaza. Now, the latest uptick in violence started after the IDF shot at and killed a Palestinian terrorist along the border, who was in the middle of planting an explosive, and Israel then sent in an armored bulldozer to recover the body, however, which is angering the Islamic Jihad terror group that has claimed the terrorist as a member. The second case of coronavirus has now been diagnosed in Israel, and it happens to be one of the Israelis who has just returned to the country after being quarantined for 2 weeks on the infamous Diamond Princess cruise ship off the coast of Japan. The health ministry says that the patient is now in isolation and under observation. But this comes after the first case of coronavirus was announced in Israel on Friday, and that patient was also among the 11 Israelis allowed off of the Diamond Princess ship in Yokohama, Japan, where over 170 people have been diagnosed with the disease. 15 Israelis were on that ship, and 4 contracted the illness and are still being treated in special medical centers in Japan. But of the 11 who flew back to Israel, 2 were still ultimately diagnosed with the coronavirus, despite having been tested free of the virus prior to arrival. Now, this is why Israel is now cracking down on foreign entry as well, despite the damages that it may cause to diplomatic relations. Now, the countdown continues. Just 8 days remain until Israel's politically exhausted citizens return to the ballot boxes for the 3rd time in only 11 months. But for the first time this election cycle, the Prime Minister's Likud party has overtaken its blue and white competitors in the polls. According to the latest polls by both the major broadcasters, the Likud party is now expected to take 34 to 35 seats in the upcoming Knesset, up from 33 in the poll last week. Blue and white, on the other hand, has dropped 2 to 33 to 34. Now, why is this happening, though? Well, the minor shift seems to be in response to the announcement of formal investigations into Israeli cyber tech company Fifth Dimension, which blue-white chairman Benny Gantz presided over until it filed for bankruptcy. But again, ultimately, this is expected to have little effect on the stalemate between the right and the left. The right and religious parties are still predicted to earn 57 seats, to the left and Arab parties is 50 seats, both of which are shy of the 61 necessary to form a coalition. Now, in the meantime, the biggest losers in this crisis are not the parties, of course, but the Israeli public. And not just the public, but the public's most vulnerable. Since 2018, the budget and government has sat frozen, and that freeze has passed on to plans to build classrooms, to update services for the disabled, to curb domestic violence, and to boost healthcare in poor communities. Everything the country needs most.
That's all for now, but for more news from Israel, remember to like ILTV on Facebook and on Instagram, and to subscribe to us on YouTube. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.